Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Stone. I've been involved in poetry slam and poetry education since the late 1990s. Like many of you, I am stuck at home during the month of April 2020 and perhaps more under quarantine. So rather than record one poem of mine a day to read or work on a project like that, I decided to give my suggestions for an update on the modern poetry canon. When I was in high school and college, all they taught was like Shakespeare, E. Cummings, Robert Frost, Edgar Allan Poe, great poets, but it's not really invigorating and exciting if you were in high school or college. I've always thought that they should teach the poetry canon in reverse, start with living poets, and then move back through their influences until you get to Poe and Shakespeare and all the way back to Gilgamesh. No one in high school should ever have to read Gilgamesh. I'm sorry if your teachers made you do that. It doesn't make people fall in love with poetry. Instead, start with someone who is currently alive and might be saying something that is more relevant to you. So that's what I'm going to do every day for the month of April, and maybe even going forward, depending on how long quarantine lasts. I'm in Massachusetts, where small businesses are closed until at least May 4th, so are restaurants and such. So people are stuck at home until at least then. So I'll probably be doing this project until at least May 4th, and hopefully not much longer than that. I hope you enjoy the project. I hope you then go and investigate each author that I do, check out their publisher's homepage, order their books through there, or find a local bookstore in your area and order your books online through them. Even though bookstores in most places can't be open right now, they can do mail order. So please order through them. Don't go through some big impersonal website that doesn't need your money anyways. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the series. And I look forward to seeing a bunch of you, hopefully, in the future when live events and poetry readings start happening again. Thanks. The first thing that I'm going to be reading is a book that a couple years ago, actually much longer than that now, I had a show in New Jersey. And while I was down there, I stopped in a bookstore because that's what I do when I'm on my way to a show. Just kind of wandering around their poetry section, and this one particular cover just jumped out at me, called Dispatch from the Future by Leigh Stein. And I've probably read this thing like 5 or 6 times since it came out. I've read a few poems from here on the Cantab open mic, and now I'm going to read a choose your own adventure from this book. There are several points in the book where Leigh Stein references other page numbers in the book, kind of like a choose your own adventure book. In fact, the intro to the book is a choose your own adventure scenario. So I'm going to read it in that fashion for about like 15-20 minutes, and then I'm going to stop. So I hope you enjoy it. It's Leigh Stein, Dispatch from the Future. If you attempt to back out of the planet, turn to page 77. If you decide to take the time to consider other options, turn to page 50, Edward Packard, Through the Black Hole. Well, if you know me, you know that I'm not backing out of the planet anytime soon, so we will go with the other option and start at page 50 in the middle of a poem. So I hid and I waited, blood as red as apples, apples as red as blood, skin as white as snow, snow as red as blood. No one has seen what I have. My betrothed came home with some men and a girl, and I still have her finger to prove it. Is one of the symptoms a constant dull ache? Don't answer that. I don't have an address. I ran out of his house when he fell asleep, and I kept her finger under my pillow, and I did not tell what I had seen. Sometimes we are so close to running, but we do not. We'd rather sleep on a piece of a body than steal a boat in the middle of a moonless night and sail to the northern country where the people assume you've done no wrong. But if you have done wrong, they forgive you. Always. And maybe one of them forgives you more than the others, and he takes you on long walks in shady arbors, and you want to tell him how much you like his sweater, but ever since the forest, you've been mute. So you write how much you like his sweater with a stick in the ground, and he gives it to you off his back. Then you start to write all that's ever happened to you, but the best parts disappear into the grass, and he doesn't give you anything else. But he does say that maybe you should run away. And you think that he means he will come with, but when the stars are all out and he's still not at the pier to meet you, you sail from that barren land without him and send letters to show you forgive him for staying. Is one of the symptoms of feeling like you've been here before? I have not been to a place yet that was not somehow familiar. This is the end. The sun is just coming up over the sea. In the desert, they dream of water and snow-capped volcanoes. I dream of amnesia. If you see them, tell them I'm stranded. In the play, everyone thought he was a Croat because he said his girlfriend bled to death in his arms, but when they reenacted her death, it was a convenience store robbery. Can you imagine being so disheartened? I can imagine bleeding to death in someone's arms. You remind me of my husband just then, who has the same name as your friend. Before we could marry, Raoul traveled to Djibouti and toiled in my father's salt field for 7 years. For 7 years we were on the sea, but we are thirsty. For 7 years we ride our camels at dusk across the desolation. How do I know you love me? How do I know that when I sleep you don't write letters to someone who can read them? Raoul says there is no wasteland he wouldn't cross barefoot if I was crying on the other side for 7 years. We have no idea what's going on. How could we have known, in the bliss of such tranquility, the terrible awfulness which would befall us? You tell me. At the end of 7 years, we marry beneath the canopy of some breathtaking rocks. I think of what a good story this will be for our children. At the altar, I said, I love you. And your father said, how do I know? I said, the life expectancy here is pretty low, Raoul. My father told him not to raise his voice at me, and I removed my veil. Let us dance, I said, until the stars are out, and we did, and that was the last night I saw him. All I've ever wanted is to ask the same question. To answer, he sends me sealed, empty envelopes. Which sends us back to page 7. Based on a book of the same title. By definition of vicious infinite regression, I don't like to talk to philosophy majors. They have found the truth, and the truth is that there isn't one. So on Saturdays, they wear overalls and stare at their reflections and try to guess whose childhood was worse. But in the end, they realize they all share the same dream of having a reason to join the witness protection program, which disappoints at least one person who thought his dream was so uniquely his. Last night, I got a fortune cookie that said, I don't get along with basically anyone. And from the back, I learned the Chinese word for grapes, puto. And it made me wonder how each informs the other. To find out, turn to page 117. Dispatch from the future. When I say I want to take off all my clothes, I don't mean what if we had sex. I mean, listen to the sublime. Sun on my shoulders, God in my ear, dispatch from the future. Life is only too short if you're having a good time. Addendum to the previous dispatch. I just remembered every single thing I've ever done, and now I am embarrassed. I want my afterlife guaranteed, so I have ordered a tomb built at Giza for my remains. They are as follows. All my clothes, my harmonica, my body, letters to my enemies. The dictionary says you can refer to everyone who will be alive in the future as prosperity. So, dear prosperity, I used to live in the future too, but I fear the past is a brush fire and I am a prairie. Now that I have what I asked for, I see I should have been more specific. Remember your future. True time travel is tricky, but backwards is easier than forwards because at least you know the way. In my memory, it is always autumnal and my weight approximately 7 stone. Birds fly in droves, dervishes to their bird god on their way to Florida, and in their memories, it seems like always a season for leaving. I watch them hover above the temple where the police officer stands guard each Sabbath. I watch them while I listen to someone tell me about weddings where he comes from, how the groom must choose his bride blindfolded from among her friends and sisters, feeling their bodies one by one down the line, checking for familiars. When I say choose, I mean remember. When I say I remember, I can't forget Constantine, how he asked to carry my purse through the Arboretum in July and let me know his mother is widowed in Kiev, though his father is still alive. As far as he knows, as far as he can throw a stone, when I time travel, I go to Oregon and skip stones with the boyfriend I left for a map, their sister who may one day stand in line at my wedding to be caressed by the blind. True, when the seasons change, I get like this. It's a little like gymnastics and a little like a pelvic examination. Uncomfortable, routine, and sometimes my life is at stake. I used to have a friend who got like this too. Someone to go to yoga with at the end of the world, but then she found God and alternative methods of contraception, and now we speak in halting cadence, like women from different tribes separated by a river filled with stones, a river you could only get to if you were from Kansas and thought you could fly around the waistline of the world until you crashed somewhere in the Pacific, never to be found. I feel autumnal. Let's go to the future where our bird god lives and ask for stronger wings. I'm going back to the poem on page 7. Already on page 56, I love you so much, I just want to steal your clothes when you're asleep and wash them. I want us to communicate telepathically until I am old and suffering from dementia and can't even remember how to play piano until a nurse tells me I do, and still I deny it until she puts my hands on the keys, and then there'll be Chopin so quickly as the light spills in the leaded windows and the lilies lean in closer. By definition of vicious infinite regression, I'm in front of a mirror, holding a copy of the movie, based on the book you wrote, based on the parts of our life together that I no longer remember. And looking back at me is a woman, holding a movie, based on a book, based on her life. And she wonders if the woman she sees wants to die as much as she does. I keep staring at this bruise on my leg and drawing a blank. Last night, when you called, I told you I was happy, which was true. But thinking ahead, I could be unhappy too, if that's what you wanted. I could be any of a lot of things, a wrist, a ghost, a harbor, a rope. I could be the one who doesn't know the language. I could be the reason they take you first. I could be the last person to see you alive. So yeah, if you feel like backing out of the planet, start at page 77. Here we go. This is near the end of a poem. Double-checking the locks in the windows and reorganizing the knife drawer again, and washing my hands because I've forgotten if I've already washed them or not. I think I hear her voice, and she's telling me I'm not alone. She says it's not your fault until I sleep. Let us go then, you and I, to where the yellow sagebrush lights the sand. Let us go and hide from ghosts. Make me forget my name. Make me forget the touch of other hands. As soon as you meet someone, you know the reason you will leave them. I wrote you a love letter, but it was lost in the fire. Wolves got it. It put stones in its pockets and went in too deep. It lit a match on a bridge over the canyon and swan dived, like the kind of bird that eats the dead. I wrote you a love letter, but it ran out of ammunition. It couldn't kill the insurgency, and so it slept all night under a veranda choked with hollyhock and rue and watermelon vines in the country where the trees are hollow highways for soldiers to drive through when on leave. I wrote you a love letter, but it was just the first 6 pages of the book of Luke, ripped from a Gideon's Bible I stole from the hotel I stayed in last week when I was trying to decide whether or not to steal the Bible. I read it 4 times. I found the story I heard at a wedding once of the woman who asked her husband why he never brought home flowers, like the husband of her friend across the street did. And her husband told her he hardly knew the woman. Why would he bring her flowers? Except in the Bible, it's not a woman. It's a lamb. And it isn't flowers, it's blood. I wrote you a love letter, but when I went to that wedding, I accidentally left it in the guest book instead of my name. Maybe I can get it back. But if I don't try, then I never have to see them again. In the Book of Lamentations, after the temple is destroyed, Banksy sits with Jeremiah inside a cavern near the Damascus gates and says, "As soon as you meet someone, you know the reason you will leave them." And Jeremiah writes this down so he can get it tattooed later. What I wouldn't give sometimes for a pen and a piece of papyrus and a view of the sea in an apartment paid for by someone else's hard manual labor. I wrote you a love letter, but I will never leave you, so you will never need to find it at the bottom of a drawer only to throw it away. Have you ever held a fish in your hands and watched the breath go in and out like horses, thinking, I'll let you go when I can think of a metaphor to describe the broken light of all these stars? So this is a title with missing letters. It would be Robot Love Song, but all the O's have been removed. Today, I think I said, "Why are you trying to hurt me?" at least 4 times to a large crowd of people, and then I came home and ate vanilla frozen yogurt and listened to my mom tell me all about optimal heart rhythms and the application that is supposed to help us do this, optimize our hearts, so that we will have a higher tolerance for emotional pain, like robots do. If a robot is sad, a robot will make cookies shaped like velociraptors and leave work early just to mail some to his mom. If a robot is really sad, he will draw hearts and arrows and blood on every smooth surface. If a robot is totally devastated, he will go on an online dating site and under "who I'm looking for" write, "someone to teach me how to love." Then the robot will stare at this, wonder if it makes him seem like he just wants sex, and instead write, "someone to hurt me. I am a robot." He will list his interests as parasailing, infinite regression, and vegetarianism, and then go change the water in his guinea pig cage while he waits for the 3,000 eligible women to come break down the door to the house he lives in with his mom and his guinea pig. Roomy. Sometimes, when a robot feels really sad, he will post fake emails from people who don't exist on his blog, just to prove to all the people who don't read his blog that he has friends. "Dear Luke, thank you so much for last night. It's still hard to walk." "Dear Luke, I loved the poem you posted about staring into the hot, white sun." "Dear Luke, I have 2 tickets to Faust tonight. Are you free? Love, me." After 3 minutes of staring into the deep abyss of his inbox, Luke will update his online profile to say he's looking for a relationship with a girl who signs all of the notes she gives him, "me," with a row of XO. He will change his interest to pandas, emus, and taekwondo. He will post a picture of himself standing in front of a great chasm, wearing sunglasses with blue-tinted lenses. Luke will lie about his height and religion and what he thinks is sexy. "Hi, ladies. My name is Luke. I am a robot. I have leukemia." This is called Ari. Hi. "Congratulations on Alaska. It sounds really great. I spoke with your wife yesterday. She didn't know what to get you since you seem to have everything: dried figs, firewood, sugar cookie scented candles. And I said, maybe you would like a picture of someone who loved you, but who wasn't with you in the cave." "Like a woman?" she said. "I don't know," I said. "You know him better than I do." I told her I bought you a book of stories about a Thai man and his adventures in cockfighting and love, which I hope you've received because otherwise I just ruined it. I meant to ask you, though, do you ever see things out there in the wild and wish there was someone standing next to you so you could point and say, "Look," such as bats or strange lights? Do your dreams take place in different weather? So many things happened this year that I just didn't have the courage to write them down on paper and then photocopy it and then mail it to people I don't talk to anymore just to show I'm still alive. But I hope you at least sent something that says you're in Alaska now. There might be those who miss you and who would want to know where you are so they can pray in your direction. Not that you need it. You were always so solitary and reckless in the good sense. I found a picture of us from when we were children, our eyes alight with matching blue-green expectancy, our teeth missing in the same spots, our arms outstretched, holding the pigeons we'd caught in our hands. Do you remember at which point you let yours go? Immortality. At the gym, they told me I would not die. I would only get sexier. And I believed them. I spent my nights wondering if this was going to turn into something long-term, if this was what was meant by casual, or if this was just my annual catastrophic disappointment, because if it wasn't, then I would have to brace myself. I took my medication and looked at pictures of people who were not in love with me. I deleted their names from my cache, said hello to my cat over the phone, took more medication. Days passed. I learned it's hard to measure your own increasing sexiness. I enlisted bystanders. I passed mirrors and pretended they were not mirrors, but clean windows, and I was not myself. I was a clean stranger. Some days, I was sure she wanted to come home with me, and I had to let her down easy, through the window, like a priest. Once I'd been unleashed from thoughts of my own death, I was free to be loved in the way I always knew I deserved. Reciprocally. In Fiji. Our bodies lithe and bronzed like gods, but at the same time I felt like a vampire, and none of my friends could relate. They were jealous of my book deal, my time spent at the ashram while they were here, suffering another winter, their unsexiness, a fluorescent sign that blinks all night. And finally, a brief history of my life, part 26. I can't go to the East Village anymore because that's where all the ghosts are. Yes, I went and got older again. I made the mistake of having a birthday and taking it to the mansion where birthdays fall downstairs and break their necks. Be careful. I've never been comfortable before, and you should know that. You should know I've outlived everyone in my family, and now I'm your guide to the haunted universe. Watch out for pianos. Take my picture if you want to see what color my energy is. In the dark, I'm either pretty or sad colored, and my silhouette might exceed your expectations. Out with the old, in with the nude, as they say. Say you want a ghost to stay. Say you light some candles. Say you lure her with sadness because ghosts are hungry for palpitations. Say you try to hold her, but you're never sure if it's enough. We're the ghosts, and we're here to tell you it is never tight enough. You'll never keep us from floating up and down the staircases like memories you didn't even know you'd lost. No one wants me to break my neck, so watch me disappear. I can't go to the East Village anymore, because I'm already here, in the dark. Those are some poems from Leigh Stein's Dispatch from the Future, which is available from mhpbooks.com, or you can support a local business store. In each episode, I'm going to give the name of a bookstore that I've enjoyed or that is recommended by a friend in another part of the country, but for this first one, I'm recommending grolierpoetrybookshop.org. The Grolier Poetry Bookshop is one of the oldest bookshops in the world. It is the oldest poetry bookshop in the United States, at least. I'm not being paid to advertise them or anybody else. I would just like to see bookstores do well in these times. So please check them out, grolierpoetrybookshop.org, or again, order direct from the publisher, mhpbooks.com. That's it. If you would like to make a video like this, I would love to see it. So please tag me at cantabprompts, which is on Twitter. And it'll be over there. And check out Leigh Stein's Twitter feed, which now I'm going to put there. It is Rhymes with B. That's all. I look forward to hearing your suggestions for poets that you think should be in the modern canon. And please use this time to read as much as you feel comfortable. If you get a chance to get stuff from the libraries where you are, that is awesome. If not, once life gets back to normal, Drop on by your library, support them too, support your local bookstores, whatever you can do. Hope you have enough time to read or do whatever it is that makes you relax in these complicated times, and hopefully they'll be over soon and we can see each other in the real world. Thanks for watching.